a little warm in here, isn't it? Yeah, I feel like my time to release deodorant just went off. But that happens here because the change of season, they still have some heat on, and we apologize for that. We may have to prop some doors open because the music's going to get hot, I guarantee. So, anyway, we'll be right back with you in a moment. Thank you.
No more order.
So before I forget, a very quick program note, if you're keeping score at home. The second and third tunes on the, we're playing all of those selections that you see, but the second and third tunes will be switched, so maybe bear that in mind. Very often when we do these concerts with guest artists, we play a tune up front, kind of warm up the audience before they come on. But that I don't know. I just felt the need to get right to it, and also with the combo starting, I figured, hey, most of you are here to see this gentleman, and so I don't want to disappoint. Now, in your program, there's a really good bio on him, and so you can read all about his illustrious career. I'm going to briefly take a minute just to kind of tell you about him from my perspective, okay? So, anybody that's from my generation certainly who's a trumpet player, but even just, into music, into jazz. Maynard Ferguson was a godlike figure, still is. To my generation and the generation before me, maybe even the generation before that, and maybe the generation that came right after me. Just a mythical figure. And so when I was in college, a music major, and I wanted to be the best trumpet player I could be, and so I dreamed of, getting the chance to get on that band. Never happened, but that's okay. That's a separate story. But we would follow these bands. This was a time when Maynard was probably the most active band, along with the Woody Herman Band, which was still traveling then, the Stan Kenton Band, Count Basie. All these fantastic names were still with us and still very, very involved. And it was such a blessing for somebody like me that wanted to play music that way. And so we would follow these bands like budding athletes would follow baseball teams and know about statistics, who played second base for the 1959 Yankees and stuff like that. So there was a time where I could name every chair of the band, and so I remember when Steve came on the band. It was in the early '80s, and I caught him with the band on a couple of concerts when he came to the area, and just a spectacular player. That's what grabbed me first. He was a great fit for that band, and so blew me away. And then later on, particularly when I started getting into directing these groups, I became aware of him as a writer and composer, arranger, and was equally impressed with his work. And like a lot of people that do that, they eventually get into doing the stuff why he's here tonight, doing clinics and workshops and appearing with college bands, high school bands, doing all-state bands. And so he's actually been on my short list for quite some time to come in and do this. And but specifically what happened in this case was that, I don't know, however, there may be some of you that were here with us last spring where we brought in the great drummer Steve Smith. Anybody go to that? Yeah, great. And it was in March, and my original plan for this year was to take the band to a festival and do a short tour. And the logistic end of it just didn't work out for that, for whatever reason. And so, says, I got to do something, and so something special, and so guest artist. And I had just worked with Steve. He did the Minnesota All-State, high school All-State Jazz Band in 2021, I believe, summer before last. And they rehearse for a week and then do a concert, and then they don't see each other for months, and then they come back and do the concert in February. So it's kind of a really cool setup. And I was the trumpet section coach and got to know Steve a little bit. But I hung out at all the rehearsals, and I saw how unbelievably great he was with those young people. And of course, college students versus high school students is a slightly different thing. But I just knew because I've been doing this so long, that he would be equally great with our college students, and he did not disappoint. And so I just want to let you know that I've been doing this a long time, and I've worked with a bunch of guest artists, and this guy he's as good as any of them, and he's better than most, so you're really in for a treat. So here is Steve Weiss.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tom, oh my goodness. Oh, okay, cool.
How y'all doing? That's more like a jazz player. Well, what are y'all doing tonight? How's it going? Wow, what a pleasure to be here. We're going to start out with something that I got to tell you a little bit of a story before we do it. Very, very quick. First of all, thanks for having me here, and thank you for the $2 million. I mean, I really appreciate it. And I only gave him $20 for that introduction. Didn't he do good? Oh man, Dr. Tom Straight, hardest working man in the show business, right here. Dr. Tom. This first piece is, as many of these pieces are that we're going to perform tonight, written by my mother's favorite composer. And I wrote this a while back. And so this has to do with my daughter, Amber, who is now no longer a little baby rabbit, as I used to call her. Now she's fully grown and she can beat me up. But we were in this area quite a bit. I do feel like I'm coming home, being in Moorhead and in Fargo, and as Tom mentioned a couple of weeks ago in Bismarck. And this feels kind of like home for me. When Amber was young, we would play these made-up space games because we were crazy people. It had to do with the food. I think we were eating lutefisk too much. And there was lye. Anyway, so we were kind of crazy. And she said, I would say, man, look at the aliens, let's shoot them. I go, bow, bow. She'd go, Dad, use the cyculator. I said, oh, okay. And I go like, she goes, no, use the cyculator. She was very young. She pulls out this plastic calculator, it had sand on it. Say, here, use the cyculator. She meant calculator. She called it a cyculator, and even then I had the presence of mind to say, that'd be a great name for a piece of music. So here it is, use the cyculator. I think that what it is. Okay, good.
It'd be a real drag if it wasn't for
I'll introduce this one and you'll see why in a moment. So we're going to do a tune. This is the only tune in our program that Steve didn't write. But this is one of the tunes he did with the Minnesota All-State group that, oh man, we got to do this. And this is out of Maynard Ferguson's library. And it was a tune written by the great Ernie Wilkins back in the 1950s when Maynard had what was known as the Birdland Dream Band, which played at the Great Birdland Club, which is still there in a different place in New York, but it's a legend. And it featured the great alto sax player Herb Geller, and it was written in his honor, and it was called Geller's Cellar. And then there became this tradition of like when somebody would leave and somebody new would come on the band and they were featured on this tune, they would retitle the tune. So I know that Herb Geller left the band, and I may be getting this out of order, but then Lanny Morgan, great alto sax player, came on the band, and they retitled the tune featuring him and called it Morgan's Organ. And
Because he played piano.
Yes, that's all I'll say about that. And then actually the first time I heard the arrangement was in the early 70s. Because I actually don't date back quite to the 50s, almost. But I heard it in the 70s, and it featured the great Barry sax player Bruce Johnston, and they called it Stay Loose with Bruce, and then it went through at least 2 other incarnations. And so we thought we would kind of carry on tradition, and we actually, Sierra could probably tell you more about this than I could. Sierra took the trouble to actually do a poll with the band, like a scientific poll, like with an app or something, and like what should we call this? And up until recently, before Steve got here, you're going to hear, how about a hand for our soloist, Emma Detman on alto sax. And this next tune, which says Geller's Cellar in your program, is going to feature Brady on piano and a little bit of, Brady. Try to calm down, Brady. Anyway, so before Steve got here, Emma was playing the solo part and still will solo on the tune. And so we thought, oh man, and they came up with this great name, Emma's Dilemma. Isn't that cool? Emma's Dilemma. But in honor of our guest artist, the band took a poll and they came up with Weast the Beast. Whoa! So that's what we're going to call it tonight. So here's Weast the Beast.
I approve this message.
Speaking of Maynard Ferguson, let's hear it from Maynard Ferguson. How about that? Round of applause. So, as the good doctor mentioned, an unbelievable person, Maynard Ferguson. And when I was with him, he was a very legendary person and a very weird person. He had a way of speaking that, well, I'll just show you. At a point in the concert, after playing a bunch of high notes, he'd come up to the microphone and he'd say this, and I would like to thank all of you wonderful earthlings for being here tonight. At this point in the proceedings, we talk a little bit because the bass player is a little winded. Cameron on the bass. Okay, so yeah. So as I mentioned last night, it's I'm sure he is laughing. He's looking up at us right now from someplace. Can I just take you guys with me across country? You're the best audience ever. He used to say that joke about his friend Miles Davis, so I know he doesn't mind. Anyway, so this next tune is something that I must also tell you a tiny story about. I'll make it short. When my youngest son, David, was a wee little boy, he did not have his L's or his R's together very well and spoke like that, kind of how I do now. But this is how David spoke when he was a little boy. And he had troubles with his tummy and his eyes, because he would look at food and say, I can eat all of that. And he would eat all of that, and his stomach would say, I'm sorry, you've had enough. We're going to give that back now. And out it would come. And David would say, I'm sorry, but I'm hungry again. So we went to a marvelous restaurant, and he looked, it was a Tex-Mex, it was in Texas, Tex-Mexican restaurant, and he said, oh, Dad, I want the enchilada platter. And I said, David, that might be a little much, because that's a lot of food. He goes, no, Dad, I'm hungry. I want the whole enchilada platter. And when somebody asks like that, you have to give them the whole platter. I mean, how sweet and cool is that? So we ate the whole thing, and we're driving back home out here in the back seat. Dad. I said, uh-oh. Dad, you better get home real quick. Just, Dad. So get home, throw open the door, up to the top floor he goes and finds the water closet, as it were, and has a discussion with the porcelain item in the water closet. And I came up the stairs and saw him leaning over the device, the toilet, and he said in the sweetest voice ever, goodbye, enchilada. And even then I said, this is a good title for a song. And so we are now going to play Goodbye, Enchilada. Thank you.
flute. They're all stuck back there. And our whole rhythm section, Greg Larson on piano for playing that great Montuno. Cameron here and on bass playing the salsa bass line, which is one of the hardest things to do.
So let's see, a couple of things here. First of all, I wrote that so I could just say, yeah, let everybody else work it and you play a high note. So I did. And the last note was what's known as a double B flat. And which is a cool note. It's a very heroic note. Maynard Ferguson was known for playing a double C, which he transposed, of course, to a C, but it's a double B flat. And I thought, since I'm getting paid $2 million tonight, we'll discuss that later, that you guys, to get your money's worth, should not just have a double B flat, you should have a triple B flat. Would you like to hear a triple B flat? All right then, well give me a minute. If you could just hum the theme song from Rocky in your mind.
Here's a triple B flat. How about a drum roll? I'm in chat. Go. Thank you.
Okay, in all seriousness, that was pretty serious though. We are going to now do a piece that comes from an incredible space opera that I wrote. I enjoy writing science fiction and doing cartoons and things of that sort. So I wrote this very deep space opera, which we're going to do 2 installments from. Because we're playing Rock Sock also, right? Later. But this one is the pretty one. Okay, yeah. So I thought I would show you, let's do away with the myth that happens quite often in jazz, and that is that jazz players can't read music. I don't know if you've heard this before, but I'm going to demonstrate to you now that that's false. Because I have my reading glasses, and I'm going to read this piece, so bear with us. This is a piece that describes my fiance, whose name is Deborah, and I call this piece Princess Deborah. Oh man, this is a good crowd. This is a good crowd. All right, but there's music. It's very intense. So I've got the reading glasses on, and I'm going to show you that we. Yeah, it's Princess Deborah is the tune. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. It's a helpful bunch up here. They are so helpful. Yeah. Right, it's Princess Deborah. Right, that's what we're going to do. Right, and it's for my fiance. I know, and they went, that's what we worked on, right? Okay, so we're going to play now Princess.
What's wrong with kids today? And it's a very beautiful piece because it's like
That was Maynard Ferguson's shtick, number 29. And the band pulled it off, didn't they? Let's hear it for the band. the last time I heard that piece of music, it was on a synthesizer. And it did not sound that cool. It's very, almost any band can play loud and fast, but it's not every band that can play soft and slow. So another round of applause for these guys. I now have in my hand my libretto. Yes, it sounds rather important, doesn't it? It means notes so that I don't forget stuff. Loosely translating libretto. First of all, here at MSUM, I'm so thrilled actually to be here. As I mentioned, it does feel like home to me. I have many friends, former family, and many friends who are here and in this area, and I used to be here quite a bit. One of those friends was Tom Malone, who came through here a couple of times, and we did things together. And Orv Idem was a dear friend, and many other people in this area. So let's hear it for Moorhead and also good old Fargo. How should I put this best? These guys worked really, really, really hard. This was a lot of very difficult music, and they put in the time and the perseverance and the hard work to make this sound good. Now, you may hear on television from time to time that the youth today are no good. Have you ever heard? They're agreeing. You're not supposed to agree. No. But that is wrong. There are people, man. As Whitney Houston said, the children are our future. But she's dead, so, you know. I know, right? That took a dark turn. I didn't mean it. And she's looking up at us. No. But I'm here to tell you that this generation is quite possibly the new greatest generation, and I appreciate the hard work that they do. So let's give them some love. Once again, these guys. Lastly, we are going to be playing a piece that I'll tell you a little something about, and then we got to go to dinner, so we're going to split it. But before we do that, jazz musicians eat awful late at night, don't they? Anyway, I really thought that was going to be funny. But maybe if I said it like Miles Davis, it would be funny. You know, we'd like to thank you all too. No, really. It's the end of the night. This last piece we're going to do, and I have one more thing to say, comes from the space opera, and it has to do with the most evil creature that has ever lived, and his name was Roxog the Merciless. It's a really cheesy space opera. It is. But it has to do with Led Zeppelin. Any Zepp heads in here? Anybody who appreciates Led Zeppelin? Yeah. And they climbing the stairway to Fargo. It was a great band. But the guitarist, Jimmy Page, and he did this cool thing on a tune called Kashmir. One of my favorites. And what's your name? Sydney. We have Sydney Page here tonight. And why don't you go ahead and just kind of get everything set up. Yeah, we have to get the appropriate sound set up for this evil monster. Well, this one's not an evil monster, but you want to give us a little demonstration of what it's going to sound like, just the group. Somewhere between 007 and an alien from another dimension. Oh, keep going. That's good. We find Roxog the Merciless. 007 who hates swing. Can't stand jazz music. This is his theme song. Okay, thank you. How about that? That was good. That's what this last tune is. Before I leave you now, I once again want to have a round of applause for the hardest working man in show business, Dr. Tom Strange! And I've been authorized promised by the people in the orchestra to tell you from all of us, from the bottom of our souls, we love you madly. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Here's Rock Song the Merciless. And then we have another tune after that. Wizard of Oz when the guys that look like Joey Bishop that are green, they look down at the witch and they go, oh, thank you. You killed it's what they did to Rock Sock. He's not going to bug us anymore. So, actually, we do have one more tune. Would you like to say anything before I continue on? Yeah.
Obviously, myself and the band, want to thank Steve for lending his talents and coming here and being so gracious with his time and energy. And like I alluded to at the beginning, I've done this a lot. And, I try to do my homework and bring in the best people that we can get. And all of my colleagues here do. We're bringing in people whenever we can. But the truth of the matter is that, usually everybody we bring in are great musicians. It's almost assumed that they're going to be really good. But sometimes they get here and they just play and don't interact that much with the students. And but Steve is like, he's been like on the whole time. I mean, it's just rehearsing the band, trying to inspiring them, and we're just so appreciative of it. I have, I think, 2 people, and forgive me if I'm blanking on anybody else. And this is like, it's great to have these concerts, and, it's like the culmination of the entire semester or year to bring in a guest artist. It's fantastic. But there's one small part of it that's bittersweet, and that is saying goodbye to some of our students. But that's what we do. That's the business we're in. We take them off the street, we clean them up, and we send them on their way. And so we got 2 of those, I think, in the band. Our tenor sax, one of our tenor sax players, Sierra Uyoa, is graduating this semester. And she's been very helpful to me, specifically with this project. And I don't know what I'd be doing without her, because she's really helped with so much of the logistical stuff. So how about a hand for Sierra? And our bass player, Cameron Heron, is, I've lost track of how many semesters you played in the band. 4 years. 4 years. So that's 6 or 7 semesters. And he's going off to the next chapter of his life and career. And so how about a hand for Cameron? Section, just doing my idiot check. Not that they're idiots. We actually had an empty trumpet chair, sadly, in the band this year, and filling in for us all the way across the river from NDSU, a great grad student. I've had the pleasure and opportunity to work with him in a variety of capacities. He's a wonderful young player, and I believe the current instructor of trumpet at Mayville State, and you spent some time at Morris teaching, I think, and we're so thankful to have him. How about a hand for Byron Ward? On your program somewhere, there should be a section that says special thanks. It's a kind of a long list, but that's because that I don't know about anybody else, but I certainly couldn't do this by myself. And it's a true team effort here. And I was looking at the list, and I think I left one important name off, and that is our director of bands, Ben Druffel, who's sitting out in the audience. And the reason that I mentioned him specifically is because for a program like this to work, of a school of our size and the way we just, I don't know, we have to have, it's a team effort, and so like the band director and the jazz band director, if they're different people, in this case they are, they have to get along and work together, and we do that, and I'm so very thankful for that. So please, a special round of applause. his band, right? So it's like, it's like we don't get territorial. We, I want them to play in his band, he wants them to play in my band, and it's beautiful. So, anywho, we are going to continue on, and I don't know if Steve has anything to say about this last selection. Yeah.
Let's hear it again for the doctor, Tom Straight. Thank you all for patiently joining us in this audio party that we've been having up here. And there's been a lot of love on stage, and we appreciate there being a lot of love in the audience as well. And Maynard Ferguson was all about love, and so I studied at the University of Maynard Ferguson and got a doctorate from them. It wasn't real. I mean, I just knew Maynard. That was enough to teach you how to love and to be loved. And so it's just been wonderful to be here and to work with these amazing students. And so we're going to end now with kind of an updated version of the first piece that Maynard Ferguson recorded that I wrote, and it was for my hometown. Well, it's not really my hometown. My family moved to this place called Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Anybody from Mississippi here? Okay, I can make fun of Mississippi. That's good. Do you know how I know that the toothbrush was invented in Mississippi? Because if it was invented anywhere else, it would be called the teeth brush. But anyway. Okay, I got many more, but I'm going to stop there. And in that hometown, we lived on South 21st Avenue. And there was 100-foot pine trees, and it was a street, and we had this little house. We were poor. We had no food. And so we would play football in the street. And every once in a while, you'd have to say, "Car, get out of the way, or else you're going to be gone. You'll be run over." So it was a shuffle. It was going back and forth off the street and stuff. So the first tune that Maynard recorded was called South 21st Shuffle, and I wrote that. And so I updated it. This one was for a band, and they called it the Royal Regal Sea Shuffle or something. But I've been lately calling it Son of South 21st. And so we're going to end with that. And in so doing, once again, tell you we love you and thank you so much for coming out tonight. Give yourselves a round of applause. Please. Thank you very much. Really, that's it. We don't know anything else.
Thanks so much.